Today, the government reintroduced copyright legislation, which they originally tabled last spring. That means Canada's copyright laws could be completely overhauled by the end of the year. Let's look at the hot sheet on this one. The Copyright Modernization Act legalizes format shifting, like moving music files from your laptop onto your MP3 player. It also allows consumers to post mashups online, as long as it's not for commercial gain, and it makes it illegal to break digital locks, even if it is to exercise other rights outlined under the Act, like copying a CD. And Parliament would have to review the Act every 5 years just to make sure that it's up to date. So, is the copyright bill too tough on consumers? Does it strike the right balance between creators and consumers? Joining me now is the Minister of Canadian Heritage, James Moore. Good to see you, Minister Moore.
Nice to see you.
Okay, so you came back today with a piece of legislation that you had tried to get through in the past, and this, of course, is your copyright bill. It is essentially the same piece of legislation, and you didn't listen to a lot of criticism that was given to you by experts in the field about particularly the digital locks placed on CDs and DVDs that wouldn't allow people to copy music or movies. Why did you not show more flexibility around that issue?
Well, first, we didn't table a bill like the other one. We tabled exactly the same bill in order to maintain, fidelity with the whole process that we had from the beginning. We did a great deal of consultation going into this bill, a great deal of consultation after we tabled the bill, and the Legislative Committee was examining the legislation, and we want to basically continue to study from where it was, get to the stage of the Legislative Committee where we'll consider amendments, and then go to final passage in the House of Commons. So this is what we promised to do. It's what we're doing. With regard to critics, there are some critics of digital locks, but there are far more people who support the idea of creators being allowed to protect themselves from those who would hack and steal what it is that they've invested in, into their software, into their video games, into their movies, and into other creations. So it's an important part. And by the way, the concept of digital locks is part of WIPO, the international treaty to which Canada has signed in order to protect Canada's intellectual property.
Right, but I think you went even further than what WIPO suggested, didn't you? I mean, these are some of the most, the strictest rules around digital locks that there are.
Well, they're mandated by WIPO, and this legislation reflects that. But it is, this part of the bill is essential. It's essential, and it's not the government imposing anything on anybody. What the government is doing is we're saying to those who have invested thousands or even millions of dollars into the development of an iPad app or some software or a video game or a movie. If you've invested millions of dollars into your creation and you want to protect it from those who would hack and expose your code and steal what it is that you've created and put it on the internet and spam it around for free and destroy your business model, you have the right to say, no, I don't want people just opening up my code and opening up my software and sharing it with the world for free. I want to protect it with a digital lock so I can protect my creation and engage the marketplace. And we say, if somebody has decided to protect what it is that they've created and invested in, they have the right to do that without being hacked. And that's all we've done.
Yeah, but how convinced are you that that will mean increased revenue for artists? Because there is some suggestion that that's not what it will add up to in the end.
Two separate issues. This is about, again, allowing people to design business models and to engage the audience. I mean, give you an example. Most video games now are dispensed online for free for, say, for example, 90 days. So yeah. I will offer you Angry Birds, for example, on your iPad. So you'll download Angry Birds, and there'll be a version of it on your iPad for free. And you get up to a certain level, and then you think, you know what, I really like that game. I want more. Well, then you pay $1.99 on iTunes to buy the next version of it. But because there's a digital lock that doesn't allow you to download the full version, you have to pay for the version that allows artists and creators of that software to be compensated. So digital locks, again, are essential to protect people and protect their investments. I mean, the idea that everything should just be free is nonsensical, because it's just a downward spiral to the bottom. And
but it's not that everything should be free, is it? It's that you buy a CD or you buy a song and you want to copy it and share it with your friends. It's not that you share it with 1 million people. It's that you want to share it with your family, and you wouldn't be allowed to do that anymore.
False. There's not a CD out there that has a digital lock on it. So you can, and our legislation makes it clear.
Okay, but on iTunes, there would be a digital lock, and I wouldn't be allowed to share that, right?
There already is, and there are terms and conditions when you sign onto iTunes that is the case. And as you know, when you buy a song off iTunes, it's encoded in a way to protect the artist so that artists can be compensated for what it is that they're selling. But you don't have to use iTunes if you don't want to. You don't have to buy products that have digital locks. This is about a conversation between those who are creating music, creating video games, creating software, creating movies. It's about the dialogue that's happening between creators and consumers and their right to talk to one another, and to do so through technological means. And the idea that the government would say to someone who has invested millions of dollars into their software that you don't have a right to protect yourself, and someone who hacks in and opens up your product and then dispenses it to the world should be able to do so freely is nonsensical.
Okay, I want to switch gears. You've been asked a lot in recent days about CBC funding because, of course, the government is looking for $4 billion over the next year. And I know you've said in the past that everyone has to make a contribution, including CBC. Does that mean that you are or you aren't going to give CBC $60 million in their extra funding for budget in the next budget in 2012?
Well, you'll have to wait for the next budget to see what's in the next budget. But, we made a commitment when we ran for office in 2006 that we would maintain funding for the CBC. We kept our word, and we did that. In 2008, we made the same promise. We kept our word. In 2011 campaign, we said we would retable the same budget as we tabled just prior to the campaign. We kept our word, and we did that. And we also said in the campaign that we were going to have a balanced budget, and we're going to do that. In order to do that, everybody has to do their part, and that includes the CBC.
Okay, so that means exactly the $60 million is there then. If it wasn't the last budget, it'll be there in the next one, right?
Exactly not what I said. I said you'll have to wait for the budget to see what is in the budget, but we are going to balance the budget, and everybody has to do their part, including the CBC. And the idea that the CBC, and look, we're working with Hubert-Lacroix and the CBC to make sure that these efficiencies are found, and Hubert-Lacroix has done a great job in finding this. And keep in mind that with declining cost of production in the digital age, the end of analog transmitters, now that we've transitioned to digital television, and that will be completed a year from now, and also the divesting of assets that the CBC isn't using to find savings, that the merging of unions and the work that's being done, the idea that the CBC can't be more efficient has been proven wrong by the leadership of the CBC, and we continue to look for those kinds of efficiencies.
Okay, now we get to move to a fun topic, one of your favorite topics, UFC fighting. You had a couple of guys up there with you today, commonly known as the Machine and the Tiger. What were they up there doing and asking you for?
I don't know if that's what their wives call them.
Let's not go there. What were they doing up there other than taking cool pictures with you and some of your colleagues?
Well, the cool pictures is part of it. That's no. They were here. Look, mixed martial arts, in particular the UFC, is the fastest growing sport in the world, and the highest profile, best known athlete in the sport is Georges St-Pierre from Montreal, and it's a sport that's exploding in popularity. And they were here on the Hill for having a lobby day, not unlike the Cattlemen's Association or the Confectionery Association. Those are good days when that happens. There are all kinds of organizations that come to the Hill, so they're here lobbying for their sport. They have a particular amendment that they want to the criminal code, which is just basically to fill a gap in the criminal code to make sure that people know that the sport is in fact legal, and to regulate it properly, to make it safer, to protect fighters, and to also improve the image of the sport that some people have. And so it's fun. They've been here before. They were here again today, and I like the sport a lot, and I was glad to host them. But
at a time when we talk a lot about hockey and hits to the head and whether that needs to be banned from hockey, when you see two guys going at it in a cage, just thumping each other any which way, do you think that is really a good sport, or do you think that maybe I'm not understanding what it is? Do you think that's a good sport to be promoting for Canadians?
Well, it's not thumping any which way. I mean, what mixed martial arts is basically a combination of judo and boxing and kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. It's actually taking a bunch of sports that are Olympic sports and merging them into one sport. All these Olympic sports, everybody is fine with. We like kickboxing and boxing, and we like the Greco-Roman wrestling. These are all Olympic sports, and all the mixed martial arts does is say that you can use any one of those disciplines in competition with another person. So it's pretty straightforward, and the idea is actually to do exactly what you described. People are concerned about having safe sports, and the whole point of this is to regulate it so that those who are participating in the sport are protected from injury.
Is this something the government's open to doing then? A change the government's open to making?
We tabled changes before, and obviously we're looking at it, but we haven't made any hard and fast decisions, because there are people of differing views, certainly in the government side, but we haven't made any decisions on it. But I'm a fan, I'm a supporter, and I think a lot of Canadians are. And it's if the sport's going to grow, we should make it as safe as possible for the athletes.
Okay, well, I box in my free time, so maybe later we can meet up in a ring somewhere.
The Machine.
James the Minister Moore, thank you for your time.
But what is your nickname? If you're a fighter, everybody's got to have a nickname.
Well, you can't name yourself. You have to let someone else do that for you.
Viewers, take note.
Thanks, Minister. Always good to chat with you.
Bye.